Good evening, Indianapolis project managers. Hey, you there online, welcome back. Well, I'm over here at Launch Fishers with just this one person behind my shoulder. No, we have a room full of people. Hey, let them hear you online, guys. Make some noise. Okay, hope you enjoyed Pro Dev Day. It's nice to be back in this type of a forum. It's been a few months, so we have been working really hard to be able to bring some great quality program to you as we help you get from where you are to where you want to be in your professional career. But before we get on with that, we have announcements because we always have announcements. Okay, announcements. First thing up here. Good to hear. I already did a couple of these here. Online participants, raise any questions or issues in the chat moderator is the only thing I didn't cover from this in that little bit just then. I want to get to this slide. You know, this volunteer has a lot of members. There are a whole bunch of members who are also volunteers. These are the list of volunteers that all had a little part to play in creating this particular event itself. Okay, so if you're not a volunteer, you may be missing out. Be prepared to or consider volunteering. It could be just a very small thing to kind of get you in, but thank you to all the people that helped make this event happen. And your name is up here. With any luck at all, it should be there. All righty. Hey, and speaking of volunteer and membership appreciation, there's an event that's coming up. Get this, get your phones out, get this on your calendar, okay? November 12th. November 12th. Okay, and this will be at the Cosmetic Beer Company, 5:30 till 8 o'clock, and it's an appreciation event for volunteers, those people, other people, and members. So if you're here, November 12th, get that on your list of things that you would like to do. We'd also like to thank tonight's sponsor, Progio. Progio is the Adaptive Project Portfolio Management Solution. So look them up at their website, Progio. Thank you for sponsoring the event. We'd like to welcome, of course, new chapter members. Then a couple, let's see, these are July. I think we may have them for the other month as well. Welcome if you're new. Is anybody in here a new chapter member in the room? Yes, we have a couple over here. A round of applause. Thank you and welcome. That's truly awesome. Okay, and hope you're enjoying this inaugural event for you. If you're online and you're a new member, go ahead in the chat and put down, hey, I'm kind of new, and our online community will welcome you as well. And here are the August chapter members we have, because it's been a couple of months here. So congratulations to all the people that are new chapter members. But really, we get to the point here where we want to congratulate those with new certifications. So here's the acknowledgement from July. We have, this is 6 certifications here, even more in August here. Whoops, come right back to that. Okay, so if, is anybody in here recently newly certified? Made it on the list here? Or if you're on, oh, Kelly, congratulations. Fantastic. Go through, oh, that's this Kelly Sandstrom that's here. Okay, very good. And we also celebrate anniversaries as well. So these are people here with anniversaries at 5-year intervals. Patrick, Scott, and Steve, 20 years for them. Congratulations and welcome. Great to be anniversaries with PMI CIC. And the August ones as well, 2 more, Lola and Mark Pendergast. God, he's at these all the time, and he's going to miss this one here. But when you next see him, 20 years, longevity award. We're ready. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, some of the kind of more typical announcements of stuff that are part of our routine here. Sponsor packages are available, like you saw Progio sponsoring this event. Those are available for your firm or other firms. Let them know. There's a job listing service at the website. I believe that job listings currently, if you're looking for talent there, still are free at this point in time. The board of directors meeting cadence is once every Wednesday of every month, and they're open meetings. And if you'd like to see some things discussed, you can make some suggestions to the agenda. Don't lose your chapter benefits, the new people over here, okay? There's an auto renew feature that's at the PMI site. So you want to make certain that you tick that box so you're automatically renewed a year from now. You know, we have got a YouTube channel for the chapter. Yep, there's a YouTube chapter. And it's at that link. And also, there's a brand new video. There's a new chapter overview video that I think was used at Pro Dev Day here. Okay, it's the Welcome to PMI CIC. It's on the YouTube channel. Check it out. Pretty neat. How long is that? About 10 minutes? Yeah, the video. About 10 minutes, I think. Okay. And then we'll have a survey because we like to know how we do with these events and we'd like your input. So there's a survey both in the room and online. Check out that survey. We'd like to have your opinion. Hey, oh, we're not ready for this yet. Okay, hang on. Something's happening here. I'm making believe that someone is talking to me in my ear. There's nothing there, but oh, okay. There's breaking news we have from the chapter's education committee. I have this notification. It's right here. We are thrilled to share an exciting development with you all. Our chapter has officially partnered with PM Training, a premier authorized training partner of PMI and a leader in certification exam prep training. This partnership marks a significant milestone in our commitment to providing the highest quality educational resources and support for our members. So good with that? So through this collaboration, our members will gain exclusive access to a wide range of training programs designed to enhance your skills and to advance your career in project management. Whether you're preparing for certification exams or looking to earn PDUs to maintain your certification, PM Training offers comprehensive live online classes and on-demand courses designed to help you reach your career goals. Right with our mission there. Stay tuned for further communications on how to access these exclusive benefits. We'll be providing detailed instructions on how to enroll in PM Training courses and webinars through our website shortly. So stay in touch with the website. Thank you to the Education Committee for that. And now we will move on with our program here after that mild interruption. Kelly Sandstrom, our Vice President of Communications, will provide the word from the board this month. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Rich. Can you all hear me online? We good online? Good? Yes, good? Okay. All right. Hi, everybody, and thanks, Rich. I am Kelly Sandstrom. I'm the Chapter Vice President of Communications. So glad to be with you all this evening. There's so many of you in the room, and it's great to see everyone's face. For those online, I don't know how many of you there are out there, but I'm glad to have you with us tonight. I have the pleasure of having served as Vice President of Communications on our board for the last 4 years. I've done two-year terms. So my word from the board tonight is about, if you are a chapter member, we've officially opened nominations for a few key positions on next year's board of directors. Our chapter is only good as our members and our leadership. So a seat on the board is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to contribute your ideas to the chapter and make an impact, not only with our chapter, but in the community that we serve. So I hope you'll consider volunteering for a position on our board of directors and join me and the other local leaders setting the course for our chapter's future. A volunteer commitment on the board of directors does require a time commitment, but in addition to getting personal satisfaction, you also get to grow your leadership skills and flex some project management and agile skills as well. You also get PDUs. So chapter members out there in good standing, you have the opportunity to submit a nomination for yourself. You can also submit a nomination for someone else. The following positions are the ones that are open for nomination right now. We have the president role, the executive vice president and secretary role, that's one combo role, and then my position, the vice president of communications. All nominations must be submitted and received no later than Friday, September 27th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. We have about a week or so to get those nominations in. Once all the applications have been received and confirmed for eligibility, chapter members will then have an opportunity to cast a vote for the nomination ballot from October 7th through October 18th, 2024. Is that right, Terry? Okay. These new roles will take office on January 1st, 2025, and they will serve a 2-year term. So highly encourage you to volunteer for the chapter. As I mentioned, I'm just about to complete 2-year terms on the board. It's one of the most fun and rewarding opportunities that I've had that I've ever served in. So if you are a chapter member, check your email. We have sent out some instructions for how to get started and next steps for nomination. Get your nominations in early, and good luck, everybody. Back to you, Rich.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Kelly Sandstrom. Our officers are the hardest working people in Project Management Institute, I think. So they do a wonderful job. Look forward to anybody else who takes a turn in that seat for a while. Let's see here. Moving on to, oh, you like this slide, I know, because it's gray, it's boring, but it's also the slide before the goodies. Okay, so let's just touch on our copyright and disclaimer comments here. PMI members have determined that honesty, responsibility, respect, and fairness are key tenets, values that drive ethical conduct for the project management profession. So we endeavor to exercise those when at all possible. All work presented today is the intellectual property of said presenters, and as such, views, thoughts, and opinions expressed by the speakers belong solely to the speakers, not necessarily that of the chapter or PMI itself. The unauthorized reproduction or distribution of copyright work is illegal and punishable, and don't do that. But I heard you could download the slides today. I got that from the speaker just a little bit earlier. Okay. All righty. Now let's get on to some of the good stuff. Today's guest speaker has been around the PMI block for a bit. You may well recognize him, I understand. But first, I want to survey the audience for something. Who has watched, let's see, that's called Bar Rescue with John Taffer. Bar Rescue with John Taffer. Okay, so some of you have, but many of you are out of this loop. So let me explain. Bar Rescue with John Taffer that I have actually seen here, okay, is this guy, I think he's from New York. He seems largely like he's from, nevertheless, he puts hidden cameras in bars, dive bars, bad bars, failing bars, bars with really troubles and stuff like that. And he films them and he watches from a nearby automobile. And then he comes in and he says, I've been watching your bar for 3 hours here. What he does on a Friday night, I don't know. But he's been watching this bar here. You've got problems, and I'm here to fix them. He's the bar doctor, and he rescues the bar, completely does a facelift, and then in like 3 days or something like that, he's transformed the whole thing. So, okay, now, I say all that because John Taffer is in the introduction. Okay, today, we're in for a treat. Because today's speaker characterizes himself as the Bar Rescues John Taffer of enterprise transformations. He brings over 20 years of consulting knowledge, experience, and exposure to designing and orchestrating large-scale transformations and organizational change for complex organizations worldwide. That's a lot. Currently, Mike Fisher is head of global enterprise transformation at Eli Lilly. I've heard of them. I think they're in the top 10. Okay. He's responsible for leading the strategic shift from project to product development and delivery, leveraging modern agile development approaches. He's also the founder of AgileCon and ProjectCon Epic, global conferences that bring together experts and practitioners to advance the project management industry. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please join me in welcoming back, I think it is, Mike Fisher. Okay, not yet. All right. And here he is, Mike Fisher. We're going to edit that out.
The mic issues. Thank you. Everybody can hear me good? Okay. My clicker. So now I have to explain the bar rescue thing. Thank you. No, it was kind of a joke, kind of. But when we do transformation, that's exactly what it feels like. So we go into an organization, right, and we're looking at what's the current state of things. We're observing, popping into different events and ceremonies, and just taking a little bit of assessment. We end up going in. It's like, you don't have any processes. There's no processes, and then we end up fixing it, and we're all hugging at the end of it. If you watch those episodes, it resonates a little bit. So today we're going to talk about. Well, you gave a pretty good introduction. So just a little bit about my career. We're going to talk about career path a little bit and what we're seeing in the industry. I started out a long time ago in project, program, portfolio management, found PMI, got involved in the chapter, was probably 10 years circling around different positions on the board, was president for a while. But I was always in consulting, been in consulting about 25 years. And in those roles, I remember getting a phone call because I was consulting for a very large company, doing project program management, project server, those type of things. And I got a phone call from one of my clients and they said, Scrum, we want to do Scrum. I was like, uh-oh. So I knew of it, but really in this market and around this area, really it wasn't really a thing yet. Some companies are doing it, but I remember getting up to speed on it, meeting with the executives and the leadership, and the end result was they had a PMO, they had project managers. The end result, they got rid of the PMO, got rid of all the project managers, hired all Scrum Masters. So, and we've kind of seen that pattern happen, but that's when I knew, like, you know, I'm gonna have to learn this. So I learned Scrum, I became a Scrum Master, I've been a product owner, product manager, enterprise or agile coach, team coach, and then became an agile coach. Just kept moving up, continuously learning what this agile thing was, and then got into transformations, and those are significantly different than agile adoptions or Scrum or anything like that. So about the last 6 to 10 years, that's what I've been doing. Large enterprise complex transformations, and they're pretty wild. So that's where I'm at now. This presentation, there's nothing in here about my current employer. This is just industry stuff and stuff we pulled out from experiences and just based on to better the community. So we're not going to talk about anything specific to my employer. And if I mention a scenario, we'll just say that it's not my employer. Okay. So we're going to talk about project to product shift. What is that? And basically redefining success in the age of agile. So it's some industry, a little delay. Industry trends. So let's just look at these industry trends. A lot of delay. Industry trends. Adoption rates of agility. As you can see, that first one right now, and this is according to, the sources are at the bottom. This is according to PMI and the Business Agility Report. So according to those two sources, 2/3 of the companies right now are considering different approaches to address uncertainty and disruptions in the marketplace, which there are a lot. We're going to talk about that. So a chunk of companies thinking about we need a different approach. Agility leadership. So agility leadership can be Scrum Master, product owner, product manager, anything in that agile space. But agility leadership roles, careers are increasing faster at a faster rate, considerably faster rate than project managers. That was interesting. Leadership, 40% higher success rate if you have leadership support. So that is key. We learned early on that, especially from the company, I said, we cannot just put agile in place like Scrum and walk away think it's going to work. That does not work. You have to have leadership support, change management, those kind of things. So challenges, 46% of companies still struggle with legacy, and I put insert, so legacy thinking, legacy ways of working, and legacy ways of being. Legacy systems, legacy management, so that's an issue. Failure rates comes from PMI. Project management failure rates are currently at 44% failure rates for projects. That 50% over there is as the projects that are successful, 50% of those fail to meet business objectives. So there's a problem in the industry. Versus agility, only 6% failure rate. So let's dive into that. So VUCA, Product. Product is basically anything that solves customer problems. So it can be a service, technology, an actual product, item. So that's what we're talking about products. In here, it'll probably towards software, right, or technology. Does not have to be. So we're just talking about product. Agility. What is agility? What do you think agility is? Just a basic definition of agility. What do we think? Incremental adaptive. Okay, incremental adaptive. Why? Flexibility. Good. Right? Good. So nimble, being able to pivot, right? So agility is essentially thinking or and responding, or sensing and responding. But how fast can an organization under control, right, pivot given market uncertainties and change, right? So the faster companies can do that, the more successful they are. So what companies are looking for, given the pandemic and these disruptions, is they need to move fast. They need to be able to pivot fast. They need to have ideas, do proof of concepts. If it's not working out, ditch it, go to something else, right? And we're moving very fast. Companies are reducing their planning time horizon down from, which would be 12 to 18 months or more, down to 3 months per quarter planning, because things are moving that quick. We need to plan in short increments, look at what's happening in the marketplace, and make decisions, make pivots, inspect and adapt. So that's why they're looking at, what can we do here? What is value? Benefits. Value, yeah, benefits. What else? Value is a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be defined by your stakeholders. Not necessarily money.
Right. Yep. The values, yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I just wrote an article because of that. Because depending on who we're talking about, they have different perspectives. In my article, I have a picture of a museum and people are looking at a painting, right? What's the value of that painting? Well, it depends. What's someone willing to pay for that, right? How much do they value that? So value is a tricky thing. But one thing we say in value, since we're talking about product, we're talking about customers, is customers are the only ones that can determine value from a product perspective, right? So what are they willing, is it valuable to them? Are they satisfied? Are they willing to pay for something? So we always look at that. But if you're the CFO of a company, value may mean something different to you. Return on investment, financials. If you're the CIO, value may mean something different to you. So value is that thing that just depending on perspectives. So there's a lot of different metrics that go with value. I mention that because these things are going to come up here. So benefits of agility. Agility, we defined agility, but really ultimately agility is going to enable that continuous value delivery. Companies like that flexibility to be able to quickly adapt to change and uncertainty, like I mentioned. Another part of that is that early and often feedback loops. So part of agility benefits is those early and often feedback loops. For instance, if we're doing iterations or sprints, what we're doing is communicating with this is a very high level, but communicating with the customer. They tell us what their problems are. We bring those problems to the team. The team figures out what that solution is going to be. We bring that into an iteration, say a 2-week iteration. We develop on that, and then we show it to the customer at the end. So the team has a lot of feedback loops in there, but also the fact that we're showing it to a customer at the end of that iteration, that customer gets to see it. And what we're showing them is actually, in software term, would be working, tested, usable, valuable software in a prod-like environment. So at the end of those 2 weeks, the customer can see it, they can use it, they can touch it, they can do whatever to it. They give us feedback, and they either accept or reject it. A lot of times it's either they like it, but they want changes. Or they like it, it's great, or they don't like it at all. We totally missed it. And some of that is because really in technology and software, it's complex. And that's what we're talking about, part of VUCA. We're in a complex, right? So it's hard to determine what the customer wants now, right? So working in these shorter iterations, trying to determine what their problems are, and they're trying to articulate it to us. And we got complicated product platforms, so we're producing something, and then we're showing it to them to make sure we're on the right track. Because a lot of times, customers don't know until they see it. So we give it to them. So that's a huge benefit over project management, where we do a lot of that work up front, get all the requirements, the designs, and then go and build something, and then sometime in the long future, we give it to them. Problem with that, in this environment that we're in, it may be, reason they're failing, what they needed now when we got those requirements elicited, right? And those designs, and we locked in those requirements with the assumption we knew what they wanted, and we go and build it. But over time, the market is changing very rapidly. So a lot of times it's what they wanted now, but it's not what they wanted when we actually deliver it. So it does reduce a lot of risk in this agility and this way of working, because we're showing it to them in increments or iterations every 2 weeks. So key takeaway, adapt to stay relevant and survive. Not only for us, be relevant and survive in the marketplace and be competitive, but also for companies. All right. How many in here, I didn't ask, but how many are working on Agile projects? A little bit, okay. How many, everyone else is traditional, I'm guessing? Pretty much the two, okay. How many are interested in Agile? Like, good. All right. Project management assumes stability. What do we mean by stability? How does project management, how do we in project manage it as project managers, what we're doing? How is stability assumed? Yep. Right. Kind of what I just described, right? We get the requirements, we lock them in, we do our business requirements document, and we try to lock all that in, right? So that's a problem, right? In what we're describing here, a lot of times. Agility embraces constant change, VUCA. Agility delivers better and faster. And I always say pretty much guaranteed. But it does not mean that the initiative, if you're doing it in an agile manner, is finished faster, right? It could take longer to deliver things than a regular project. It could. But when we say faster and better, it's higher quality because we're showing the customer every iteration, and they're giving us that feedback, right? So we can inspect and adapt, make changes, go into another iteration, show it to them. So we tend to get better results, better product. Faster, because in that same thing, we're doing the high level requirements, but detailing them out for that iteration, developing it, and if they like it, it's in a releasable state, we can get right into production. So we're seeing early return on investment. So if a project, for whatever reason, or initiative is stopped for funding or whatever, you can see in project management, the value, sometimes 80% of it comes at the end of it or more. They stop a project in the middle, there's nothing. It's really kind of waste, right? Many times. In Agile, where we can actually deliver in these short increments, if they killed it, there is something that is usable, right? And we can get back up and elaborate on it if we need to. Role evolution. So project manager, tactical execution. I was talking to someone about this. Sometimes as project managers, we sell ourselves short a bit because we become taskmasters, schedule pushers. You hear all those terms, right? We're more than that. So that's where I said we need to evolve, but we need to really step up in that area. But it is tactical. A lot of it's tactical. We create a charter. I'm going to high level this, but create a project charter, start creating the schedule, put the task in there, work breakdown structure, get the estimates, put the people on there, right? Predecessors, critical path, lock it in, baseline it. We're locked in, let's go. And then after that, what do? We're monitoring the task progress, right? So we're just looking at task, asking people, did you finish this? No, do you need any more remaining work? And that's kind of what we're doing as project managers a lot. Product leaders take a stance more of a strategic visionary. So you get more involved in the product and the company, focusing on customer satisfaction. So looking at what the customer's problems are, intimately knowing your customers, and being able to really get involved in developing their solutions, continuous improvement on the product because of those iterations and the feedback from the customers. It's a long-term product value proposition. So we're always building in and getting that continuous improvement over time of what the customer really wants, different than that short term. So it's a lot more strategic and visionary and less tactical. And then empower teams. That's a big thing. As I was thinking about this, I heard the same thing though in project management is leaders would always say, you got to get in there and lead. You got to drive. You got to drive. They're saying the same thing now with product individuals. Got to drive. You got to drive. And what leaders really want is to really challenge the teams. Don't just accept if you go into a meeting and the team says, yep, I have an impediment or I got a delay. And we just say, okay, and we move on. But they really want us to question the teams, empower the teams, drive the teams, lead the teams, and ask those questions. A product leader, you should know about product development, right? Not just project management, not just agile, but also about product development. So that when you're meeting with the teams and they're talking about the product and they're missing something or you don't hear something, you can ask that question to prod them to think and answer those questions. So a product leader is a true leader and really empowers teams to innovate. The innovation comes from those long-lived teams that you're managing, understanding the customer, their problems, and over time, starting to anticipate the scope. Once I know my customer, I know their pain points, I'm with them for the long term, I know my product, I'm more of a strategic visionary, I can start anticipating the scope and I can start being more innovative with them, right? Because a lot of times the customer doesn't know. They're like, I want maybe a checkbox or a radio button, but those platforms are so much more than that. So really being innovative and being able to really solve their problems. All right, project leader. I mentioned strategic. True leader through service. If you heard, in the agile space, a lot of times we're using the term servant leader, right? We've kind of moved away from that because in the industry we kind of messed that up. So when they count the servant leader, we kind of misinterpreted it, and it was kind of like, well, I'm a servant leader and I'm of service, so I'm just going to wait, and when the team needs something, they'll get with me and then I'll do it, right? We still expect that leadership to drive and mentor and motivate and empower. So you'll see the new term is true leader. So it's a true leader through service. True leader through service to the team, to your organization, and to your product individuals. The customer-centric focus. This is changing focus from, it'll come up here in a minute, but customer centricity is putting the customer at the center, right? Simple as that. And then again, empowering teams. And I mentioned that, really asking the teams to find question. A true leader, if asked something, is I'm just going to put it back on the team, right? So a true leader gets the team to think and come up with their own answers by prodding and asking them questions, right? So you got to have a basis of that knowledge so you can ask those questions and get them to come to the answer. So that's the empowering team. And lead through influence without authority. This is a huge one. It's lacking a lot, especially in consulting or contracting. We're not going to have authority. Just take that off the table. We're not. On my team, I don't have authority. When you build a team of cross-functional people, they don't report to me, I don't report to them, right? I'm not the hierarchy of the organization is different than when you bring a team together. So there is no authority. You have to have a high level of influence. And I mentor a lot of people in that. You have to be able to guide teams strategically through conversations and get them to the answer you need them to get to. And that is through, so definitely look at that influence without authority. And that's one of those skill sets that'll be in here is definitely get that level of influence. Metrics. You recognize that triangle? What is it called? Triple constraint, iron triangle. Yep. We've always known it as that. We still use it with agility, but we flip it. So the project metrics, we're looking at time, scope, and budget, right? And I still today, even in our agile space, I see status reports that I don't do status reports, but I see status reports that are all green. Time, scope, budget's all green. But I know they're not green. They're red. So what they're saying is, yep, they want to report to leadership that we're all green, but behind the scenes they're red. They're struggling. It's chaos. They're not happy. There's conflict. They've moved dates to say we're on time because they moved the date. All those things are happening. So those are project metrics. We want to get away from those and just forget about those. And where on that triangle, where we flip it, is, we have fixed budget, right? Fixed time. So we're saying you got a budget. I'm saying that wrong, all right. Fixed scope. I'm saying it the opposite way. Fixed scope in traditional project management, because you're doing all the requirements up front, you're locking them in. So we're thinking we know what we need. We're locking in the scope. And then the time is flexible, and so is the budget, right? In agility, we flip it the other way. You know that, right? Or not? We fix time. We fix the budget. We fix time because it's a long-lived product. Iterations, perpetual iterations forever. They're just 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. That is the schedule forever, as long as we need it. So that's the schedule locked in. Budget, we're people and computer. So you put your team together, small team of 5 to 10 individuals, small network team, that's your team. So now our budget's fixed. And now we're negotiating on scope. So that's considerably different. Product metrics, we don't look at time, scope, budget. We look at things like customer satisfaction, time to market, cycle time, lead time, feature usage. Are they actually using the feature? Is it really the right product at the right time for the right person? Value stream outcomes. Value streams are in an organization, they may sell products externally to customers externally, right? A value stream is from trigger to when you get repaid for that, okay? You map out your value stream. In order to achieve that, there's systems that need to support that value stream. So the customer-facing value stream is generally referred to as the operational value stream, and then the development value stream are the individuals that go and support that operational value stream. So generally 2 value streams, but what we want to see is we're looking at the entire value stream it comes from lean thinking, systems thinking, right? Is optimizing the entire value stream. In your company, it doesn't do any good if this part is optimized and this part isn't. So if you're manufacturing products, they can come up with all the great products they want, but if you can't manufacture them and getting out the door, it's a problem. So we look at that. Value stream outcomes, company objectives. When we have company objectives from leadership, the CEO, we map those company objectives all the way down to the delivery teams and make sure we have line of sight that every time we produce something that we're moving the needle on those company objectives. So much different metrics that we're looking at. And time, scope, budget, we don't even worry about that. No stoplight reports. So why metrics matter? Illusion of success. You see that? You've heard that. Stoplight reports. Again, I just articulated that. So it is illusion of that everything's been well. And that's just many times not the case. And given the statistics we just saw, that's definitely not the case. Product metrics, more long-term value focused. And we mentioned the rest of those. All right, importance. Short-term project completion is no longer sufficient. Okay, so those temporary projects we're seeing, those are no longer sufficient. Got to do more than that. So that's the shift to project-oriented models. So that's something that companies are looking for. How do we address that disruption and those uncertainties? Product-oriented model is one of those things. Product development, product management. So I would look into that on what that is, but it enables that continuous innovation. Key takeaway, stay customer focused. So what we tend to say, I think it says there somewhere, is we look at the customer, we work backwards from there. Because that's where the value comes from the customer. And then we work backwards how we can achieve that. Case studies. So who remembers Kodak in its day? Yeah. Yeah. What happened to Kodak versus Fujifilm? Yep. So Kodak was in what? Film, right? Paper film, negatives. I remember taking my film to somewhere and getting it, and you come back and you pick it up, right? But the market shifted, happened, right? There was disruptive technologies happen. Kodak gets healed in on film is going to be here forever. We're going to keep doing that. Fujifilm was also film. If you remember the stores, it was always Kodak little films, and Fujifilm though adapted quickly. They adapted to digital. People thought, it's not going to work. Fujifilm did it, went into the digital market, digital cameras and all that. They're successful. Kodak's not as successful anymore. The next one, what's that? See those two phones there? Yeah. Anybody have a BlackBerry? Had one? Loved it. Loved it. And it had the two-way talk. Remember that? It was an awesome feature. BlackBerry's doing very well, if you know the story, but look what's next to it. Yeah. The problem there was they weren't looking at their customer needs and the problem is trying to solve. So iPhone comes out with the touch screen apps, seamless, because they went through the iPod and all those, but then they brought it into the iPhone that just works seamlessly, and it still does. They just put BlackBerry out of business because they could not adapt fast enough. Same thing, Blockbuster, Netflix, right? Blockbuster failed to realize that people are going to stream media. When DVDs, I remember the videotapes, VHS, and then DVDs and CDs came out, but they didn't see the digital streaming service coming. Netflix shut them down. Pandora, Spotify, interesting. They're both still around, right? Pandora dug its heels in on, they thought that streaming radio stations is the thing. Where Spotify was like on demand, create your own list, right? Customize your own. And they missed that from their customers. So Spotify pretty much went over Pandora. The other two, Amazon. Amazon's an amazing company. I mean, I don't even have to mention that. Is everyone using Amazon? Yeah. I mean, they're doing amazing. I mean, they got a pharmacy now, and on and on and on. I took a tour of their facility. It's amazing. They measure everything. They have real-time metrics on everything. Their equipment, their people, how they do their fulfillment centers is amazing. Has anybody been in the fulfillment center? Robots everywhere. The people that work there don't move. Previously, you were a picker, and you went and fulfilled it by going up and down these, right? And then they flipped that, and they said, well, the people just stand here, and the robots bring it to you. It's an amazing thing. And they measure everything. They know when a piece of equipment is going bad, and then they react to it. And then they did AWS. They diversified, like I said, the pharmacy. So that is a company that really, and they're the ones that I get that from, is they look at their customers, and they work backwards. They make sure that they thoroughly understand their customers, their problems, their pain points, work backwards from there, and it's an amazing company. Their team members, they encourage innovation. They have spots within Amazon areas where team members have come up with an idea of a robot or something. They actually build it, and they put it there, and they run experiments on that to see if it works. They put it throughout all their facilities. Microsoft, another amazing change, seen as this big, huge company that you can never change, but they did. Brought agility in, small teams, and were very successful with the pandemic because they were ahead of that and accepted like product development, small teams, agility. When the pandemic hit, they were able to get features and teams out very quickly. If you remember before the pandemic, their competitors had like breakout rooms and all these other features and teams didn't. But man, Microsoft jumped on that and they were able to get those out very fast. And it just continues today with Windows 11 and everything else. So point is, constant adaptation wins, and that's what companies are looking for. You mentioned the COVID-19. There are so many across different sectors, companies going out, retail, automotive, you can go on and on and on, that just did not make it through a disruptive event. So that's what companies are thinking about. I know you can't read this, that's okay. You'll have these. But focus, project-oriented, the focus is short-term, where product focus is long-term. Value delivery is at the end of the project, typically. Most of it's at the end of the project, where in agility, most of it's up front. I usually say 80-20, generally in traditional project management. 20% goes and the 80% is at the end, where agility, we can get 80% out very quickly and then 20% on from there. Team structure, temporary teams, sometimes very large. I'm dealing with teams that are 50, 80 people, and we're looking at splitting them up. Just too big. Amazon has the idea of 2 pizza teams. You can't feed a team with 2 pizzas, it's too big. So we do the same thing. We'd say 5 to 10. Some people say 7 to 9, whatever. But we have small teams, small, dedicated, long-lived teams. So that's a big difference. Those long-lived, dedicated teams, if you can picture this, when you put those teams together with deep specializations into the product, they get to know their customers, they get to know their problems, and then, like I said, they can start anticipating that scope, and so they know that very well. Temporary teams come together, you do your work, and then you're done with the work, you disband, go on to another project, right? So it's that project to project at the project, where product teams are more long-lived. Success criteria, outputs versus outcomes. Again, I talked about metrics. We look at things like stoplight reports, where we're looking more like customer satisfaction in those outcomes. And customer focus, the customer is involved likely up front a lot to get those requirements in traditional project management. But in agility, there's constant customer interaction throughout the life of that product. They have a seat at the table, and there's daily interactions with the actual customers. So shift. How can we shift our mindset? So preparation, this is for us, okay? Preparation, embrace change. So I remember back when I got that phone call for Scrum, it was kind of new in this market, right? Now it is not new anymore. That's my opinion. It's not new anymore. It's a must-have. Agility is a must-have. Even in whatever project manager you're doing, you're going to have a level of agility and understand where the companies are at and what's going on in the environment in the marketplace. So embrace change. It's constant. It's always going to be changing. The rate of change is increasing. Customer-centric, put the customer first. Again, we talked about the full value stream. Experiment, that's an interesting thing. Experiments, we do a lot of hypotheses and experiments. So that is very helpful to customers. So when customers have a problem, an idea, and of course it's complex, we really don't know how to solve it yet, we do an experiment. Is that experiment true or false? We show it to the customer. If it's good, then we build that back in. So that happens on a regular basis. So I've learned to understand the scientific method, experiments, hypothesis, and how to run experiments and all that. So definitely look into that. And then deliver often and incrementally. So often, again, delivering, getting it in front of the customer, and that incremental. Let's see. Reskilling. All right, this is for us. Learn agility. And this is agnostic of frameworks or anything else, right? I have done them all. I have a lot of certifications because I wanted to. I needed to know this. So there's, scrum.org, Scrum Alliance, SAFe, all of those. Look at all of those. There's PMI, Discipline Agile. Look into all of those and learn what a true agility is about. Agile is somewhat getting a stigma, I think, my opinion, in the industry. So we've kind of stopped using the word agile because a lot of companies are experiencing it's not working. I don't like it. It's not the practices of the framework, it's the implementation of it. In the industry, we're really misinterpreting what true agility is and why we do what we do. So when I say learn agility, learn really why we do what we do, whatever it is. And we hit this on a daily basis. You have to really understand the why behind something and the true design and why things work, so that given any scenario, you take those guiding principles. That's a mindset, right? Values, principles, creates that mindset, and it helps me how I'm going to respond to something and act. And when I act, that's a behavior. Behaviors become habits. Habits become the way we do things around here, and that shifts culture in the organization. So we really got to understand the why behind it. Putting practices just in place just because of practices, that doesn't work. You have to really understand the why behind those practices when you're putting them in place. And that's the shift mindset, not just practices. Power skills. PMI, that comes from PMI. PMI is using that term now. Power skills over soft skills. And these are some. Data analysis. Measure everything. Use metrics that matter. And through empiricism, that's another big concept, right? Empiricism is through observation, through experience. We observe, like the John Taffer. We watch what's happening, right? Not what people are telling us, everything's green. We look, and we look for evidence. Show us that things are working. Data analysis skills are good. Influence skills, I already mentioned that. Facilitation skills are huge. Product leaders have to be able to understand that you're going to create spaces, hold spaces for people to have conversations face to face, and be able to prod them with questions, recognize psychological safety, recognize when someone's not participating, and be able to navigate your way through that. The facilitation is huge. EQ, emotional intelligence, so on and on and on. I could go on forever with those, but those are power skills. You want to learn all those. Also transformation. That's how I moved up. I do transformations. They're so interesting. Takes a lot of change management. Transformations and this agility thing have very little to do with agile practices. That's the easy stuff. Putting Scrum in place is easy. Putting safe, whatever, those are the easy things. It's getting the buy-in, dealing with change, removing systemic organizational barriers. Those are the difficult things. That's what companies are looking for in true leadership. Come in, help us get to where we need to be. These are just the key takeaways. I'll skip that one because we saw them along the way. This is just saying, basically, don't think of yourselves just as project managers, a project, right? You are shifting to product that isn't just about practices. It's about profound impact you'll have on delivering value that outlasts any project schedule. So take that long-term approach, that customer approach, that product approach, and become a true agile leader. But you got to learn those skills. That picture there is a product I was on, but that's the largest ground-based solar telescope in the world on top of a volcano in Maui. It's an amazing thing. And you talking about really making a difference. That was an amazing experience. You can look it up. It's called DKIST. Oops. Closing. We'll take questions. I forgot to mention that. You can ask questions anytime you want, but we can have a discussion here. But too late. But we got time, I think, for questions. So no. But I put some books in here. You'll get this. But these are just. I have tons of books, but I picked these out specifically for project to product shift. So if you're into upskilling, which you should be, look at these books, whatever format you like, to start learning what these things are about. And you're truly going to become dangerous. I tell you what, I would take, Scrum Master. You can become a certified Scrum Master in 2 days, right? Be hired and be on the job. And not, yes, going blank thing. Take a project manager like yourselves that know these things, right? And extend and learn these things. You are going to be completely dangerous. That's the path I took. And I knew it a long time ago. And that's the path. And I would hire those individuals all the time because you have these extra skills, and not just practices are easy, like I said, but you're really going to know this stuff. That is it. At Mike Fisher Inc. You Google that. Follow me. I write on Substack articles, YouTubes, everything. If you put that in there, you're going to see everything. I got my own website, but join in on the conversations. I write articles and I have debates and stuff all the time about this stuff.
Right. Hey, we promised some questions, and maybe you can provide some answers. We will take some time for some questions now. Right. Yes, ma'am.
I got a little hung up on true leadership with a servant mindset. So it's true leadership. Who is defining true leadership there?
Yeah, it's an odd thing. I had to look it up and really do some research on that. What is
And Mike, could you repeat the question for the online people? That would be great.
So the question was true leadership, getting hung up on true leadership in service or for service. Like, where did that come from? I had to look it up, right? So the writers of that, I looked it up, and what is true leadership, right? And I would encourage you to do the same. But again, I kind of take the opposite thing, where why did they make the change? So I kind of rationalize that way. Servant leadership went to true leadership, because servant leadership, people are limiting themselves to just service and not being leaders. So what we want are still those true leaders that are leading, driving, mentoring, influencing, all of those things, right? Not just accepting answers in your events from when the team members say stuff, but questioning them, empowering them. So that's a true leader. If you think about your leadership, what do you want out of your leadership, right? You want them to give you the strategy, the intent, the outcomes, and then trust and empower them to go get the job done. That's a true leader, but it's with service. So you're still with service to your team, the organization, and to your product. Does that help?
I'm sure there's lots of philosophy, but authentic to democratic to mixed. I didn't know. I'll check it out.
Yep.
I'll Google it.
Were there one of these books that's on point for?
There's a book there called Leadership Agility that touches on that. Yep.
Orange one. Okay.
Yep. And also the Sooner, Safer, Happier is a really good book. Executives are reading that book, Sooner, Safer, Happier. That's a really good book on leadership and things like that.
Another question, please. Yes, sir, in the blue.
Yeah, I would say
For the audience.
where does program management fit in, right? I would say I can relate it to you still have in product development, right? You still have the concept of strategy to delivery. And in that path, we still recognize there's a portfolio level where strategy and vision happens. That's where the funding happens. And then where does it go from there? It comes down to a program level, right? So we have some instance, one title there is a product manager, is at that program level, because, and then it goes down to a team level. Program level is important because if you think about, let me just say Scrum. Scrum is generally single team Scrum. But products, you may need more than one team because we're saying 5 to 10. Well, what if I need more people? Well, we spin up another Scrum team. So we have two. So you may have a case where you have 4 to 5 teams working on a single product aligned to a value stream. So when those teams are working together, there is a program level in there. It's still there, right? So someone's got it. You got the team levels, and then you got the program level where the product manager is feeding from the, let's just say epic level, the strategy epic level, down to the features, and then giving features to the teams, and the teams are breaking up features on how they're going to do that, and then they integrate it back together. So there's still a program level. And we still have, some of our teams still say, I need a program manager, because a lot of times we have releases over, like multiple releases over several sites, I'll call them, or, and so let's say product leaders are sometimes focused here with this team that's happening. Well, who's watching this ahead of time, right? So that there's still a role for that program manager there.
And here in the middle.
Okay, from our online members, Samuel, he says, in practice, how do you make the shift from project manager to product manager? Reading, learning, etc. is one thing, but how do we show ourselves qualified for a product manager position if all our previous roles are in project management?
Yeah, that's the catch-22, right? It's just like going for a Scrum Master too. Like, how do I get a Scrum Master job? I just took a 2-week course. I've never done it before, right? How do I get there? That is challenging, right? I've mentored one way. I've mentored a lot of people, right, that have gotten into this business. And there's ways to get that experience, right? Even if it's not a job that's paying you, there's ways to get that experience and practice that experience, right? And getting your network together, getting the foot in the door, and being able to really talk about what you know, right? That is a start. Okay. I think a lot of what we did here, I don't know, I've been away from it, but a lot of what we did here in PMI is we turned a lot of stuff into those agility practices, and we all were practicing agility, right? So we were kind of getting that experience, and we put that on the resume. And you go in there and you say, "Yeah, volunteered at PMI. We did this agility thing. I mentored. I done." So there are ways to get that experience without getting the job, but I don't know if that totally answers that, because there's multiple ways, but that is a challenge. You have to have that experience too. But I have seen people that are great project managers. Some of them are in this room. Great project managers. I know they know agility. They probably haven't done it too much, but I would hire them in a second because they have the right. I can teach practices all day long. I can get you to understand the practices, but if you have those right power skills, right, influence, those, I would hire you in a minute, even though you probably haven't even led a scrum team or anything agility, right? Because you have the right quality. I know you can do it, and then we can mentor you and get you upskilled.
Right. Hey, gang, I have an idea. Mike, I'd like to give you a little bit of a break, but will you come up here for some more questions and answers in just a little bit here? Would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Speaking appreciation, we would like to express our appreciation in a couple of forms here as well for you. Kelly, if you'll please award our official certificate of appreciation.
This is awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
And our
Thank you.
official PMI coffee mug.
Yep.
How many of those do you have?
This is it.
There you go.
And I tell you, I'm on video a lot. I'm gonna show it off on video every day.
That is excellent, Mike. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Look forward to having you back up here in just a little bit.
Thank you.
Take a bit of a breather. That's awesome. Okay, now it's also this time of the evening where we recognize our volunteer of the month and enjoy a little bit of podcast action. So if I can get Casey Adams to come on up here. Casey is this month's volunteer of the month. Welcome, Casey Adams.
Hi. Does that work? How do I sound?
Casey, using the technology that he has enabled time after time for all of us in here, so it's great. Casey, welcome. I know you. I've seen you around a bit.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So you have an official position title called trustee.
Yes.
Tell us. I take it that's a volunteer position of some type. Tell us a little bit about what's a trustee and what do they do?
So the trustee for this organization is pretty similar to what a trustee for most boards is. You're entrusted with, the general welfare of the organization that you're leading. So as a past president, and there's a lot of knowledge, historical. There's just kind of lingering leadership opportunities, right? So it's the type of role that allows a person like me to kind of help with the transition to a new board. And as we bring some new directors and stuff in here, is share some of that knowledge with them and get them in position where they can lead.
When and what was your first PMI volunteer experience?
See here, 2019. So I got the PMP in 2018, started coming to these meetings with Mike as the president at the time. And, just kind of really loved what I was getting out of it and eventually wanted to kind of give some of that back. And I'm not going to lie, get in for free.
Oh, side benefits.
Little side benefit of not having to pay to attend. And then, just finally, I think it was beginning of 2019, I went ahead and filled out the form and said, I want to figure out what I can do here.
Do you happen to have like a most enjoyable volunteer activity or event or experience over the course of the years?
Oh boy, Pro Dev Day. Pro Dev Day is the thing I probably get the most joy out of doing because it's just so much knowledge available. It's such a big opportunity to reach a lot of people. So That's my number one.
While we have a lot of volunteers in this particular chapter, maybe an unusual number relative to others, I hear there are members out there that have not yet volunteered. Do you have any message or encouragement for those that are members, but they've not yet kind of crossed over into the volunteer route?
It's a lot of fun. It's super rewarding. So Mike mentioned mentoring. Well, Mike was somebody who mentored me. I was one of those transitioning, trying to transition out of a job that didn't have a lot to do with agility, and I wanted to pick up those skills. And I also wanted to pick up project management skills. Mike's, experience was really good. So it's opportunity I've tried to turn around and give to other people too. So hey, volunteer so you can pick whatever value I have in my brain. And then maybe most importantly, when it was time to interview for the job I currently have, and they started asking me about experiences that I've had with agile practices and iterative, Scrum, and this and that, the job I had had before didn't have that. But what did was my experience with the chapter. And so I've even asked my boss, after the fact, I was like, hey, so what was it? Like, what made you convinced that I could do the job? And he was like, well, first of all, I know how hard it is to manage volunteers. So that experience spoke a lot to me. And you're not just volunteers, but the project managers. And he's like, that alone just kind of sold me.
That's an awesome story. Casey Adams, thank you very much. Thank you for volunteering.
Thanks.
Join me in recognizing Casey Adams, Volunteer of the Month. All right. Hey, we have a little time here to meet the speaker. If I can coax Mike back up here, and we're going to get a little bit less formal than up here. Was he wearing a tie earlier? I didn't know. All righty, and this is a time for some additional questions. Although I may open with something myself here.
Can I tag on
There we go. That's
on
good.
something that Casey said?
Hey, you want to Mike? You want to have some follow-up comments to our Volunteer of the Month?
Because I don't know if what Casey said at the end, but that was real. Like being involved in the chapter for me was huge, and I can probably attribute a lot of my career to just volunteering at the chapter. The network, the people, the things we did, companies really appreciate that. They do. So it's huge. Networking is huge. Build your network here. And the question of what else can you do, right? I was thinking about that. I've encouraged a lot of people. Sometimes, this is kind of a cheat, maybe not a cheat, I don't know. But sometimes corporations, getting a full-time job at a corporation, there's a lot more that you have to go through in the interview, right? Look at consulting and contract if you're up for that. Sometimes that is an easier path to get involved and get some experience because it's lower risk, especially when the consulting firm or contracting firm has an engagement and they are presenting your resume and vouching for you that you're a good. So you go in the door and they already have some background on you and they're kind of promoting you. That really helps. I've done that, started there before I went into corporations. That really helps.
Great. Thank you for that. Hey, I got to ask before we get on to more questions, so be ready out there, and I'm going to check for online questions as well before we do. How did I do on the bar rescue description?
Great.
I did okay.
Yep.
And how do you know where to hide the hidden cameras? Really looking for that part of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We don't use hidden cameras, but pretty much all of it is pretty. In the conflict part, if you watch Bar Rescue, he actually has a book, and I've read the book. I've listened to the book a couple of times.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you watch the show, he actually on purpose creates conflict because he has to expose. He has to break down that barrier because people are bar. They're really passionate about their bar. Don't come in here and tell me I'm doing things wrong. Right? Same thing as organizations. Right? But you have to reveal those situations to themselves. Right? So he creates the conflict, breaks that down. It's healthy conflict. And it's so interesting because I've never seen someone create so much conflict and within 3 days they're giving hugs. So that's, it just reminds me of our transformation. People don't like to change, and it's very difficult. So my job by nature is very disruptive, and I let everybody know that. It is disruptive by design. We are here to throw the rock in the pond and create, the ripples and all that. And so we create healthy conflict, right? But you have to break those barriers down in order to get something to change. So
Yeah, so those bar owners and the employees, they don't think anything is wrong. They don't want to change. They don't want it. They think everything is hunky-dory
Yep.
fine until faced with
although I'm
reality.
losing a bunch of money, I'm losing, $200,000 a month, but they don't see what's wrong.
Fascinating. Hey, I said go for questions. Now it's your guys' turn. The gentleman with the glasses in the back.
Basically, question for Mike is, do you have discussions
With what times?
Lead times on equipment. So let's go into a couple different industries and consider agile, like construction. Like how do you build that building, brick by brick, and have them start using it?
That's we have these discussions a lot. Because we typically use construction and some of those as an example of traditional project management. Because people ask, like, should we use traditional project management or should we use agile, right? When do we know which? And we always say, well, if it's simple and you know what you're doing, construction, you get that. You probably heard that story, right? We use that example a lot. But I am convinced now that traditional project management is great for simple things that you do know a lot. And we always say uncertainty or complexity. Complexity is there's more unknown than there is known, right? Traditional project management fits very well when there's more known than there is unknown, right? So that's kind of the distinction. I would say, I've said this recently, agree or disagree. In software development, I really don't see a place for traditional project management. That's very difficult because by nature, software development is complex. So I tend to say, I think agility, agile practices work in any scenario where I think traditional project management is somewhat limited. And I say I can organize my garage or clean my garage using agile practices, right? So in construction, I'm convinced, I probably won't give an exact answer. I haven't thought too much about that, but I am convinced that even in construction, you can use agility practices. And I usually give the example, if I was buying or building my $10 million house, I don't write the check day one and then come back 18 months later and see how they did, right? I'm going to keep checking up on it. I'm going to be, nope, I want to make changes. So I think there is an aspect of agility to get a customer. So that's the thing about agility. Learn what that is. Customer centricity, right? I'm the customer, I'm building the house. But wrap me in, give me a seat at the table to build that house or that construction or whatever you're building. Bring the customer in, show them what you're doing, get the feedback, right? Inspect and adapt. I think all of those guiding principles apply to pretty much any industry or whatever you're doing. So I would challenge, and that's where I started, by the way, is slowly bringing in agile practices, right? Looking at what they are and bringing them in until I just went full agility. But so I would challenge whoever, in those industries, construction, whatever, look at what the principles are and start bringing them in. A lot of this comes from Toyota manufacturing, right, on the production lines. So a lot of these principles are very good and apply to a lot of situations and industries.
Mike, I have a related question. In my mind, I was thinking about different project scenarios as well. I'm going to stay with IT type project here. But a lot of these IT projects are like moving from one platform to another platform. So let me make up a hypothetical. Got a company that's on HubSpot and they're growing and they want to go to Salesforce instead as a CRM. How do you agile your way from one platform onto another platform when there's a big bang, all this data that you have to move across there? Maybe there's compliance issues that are at play.
Yep. It works. We do it all the time. It's still a matter of there's the customers obviously there, right? So are we talking about a straight migration or there is changes? I mean, that's a little bit different, maybe.
I don't know that there's such a thing as a straight migration.
Yeah. So there's always those feature changes or something's got to be different, right? But we still use the same principles. We still plan in small 2-week increments, right? The team comes together. What are we going to achieve in the next 2 weeks?
Okay.
Right? So then we have the work, we have a backlog, and we're watching the backlog. It's different than in that project schedule where I really can't, it's hard to see in a project schedule what's happening. It's much easier to see in a product backlog and a Kanban board exactly what's happening. even if it's migration.
Where I get hung up is it's difficult to put something that's workable for your customer into the new platform. Until a lot of work has been done. So it was that I was getting kind of hung up on. Okay. Question over here. Yes, Sri.
You mentioned a good point. Kind of like what I'm trying to say, that's the problem. So how do you do it? Add automation on okay, I'm going to develop to sell this product or next week. Then thank you quality of how
Just clarify. So, and why can't they do that?
like
Why? Yeah.
because like just one ERP. How to I'm running different right now I want to think brand new ERP, all these one platform. How do you do that? You cannot divide it into achievable pieces, right? Because it's all to the
Because they want all or nothing. Is that? Yeah. You know, I don't know if this is the exact answer. We have some of those scenarios where the customer's like, I don't want part of it. I want all of it. Right. We still develop it. And so don't take this as the exact way to do it. But something we say is it's high risk. The longer we don't put something into production, the higher the risk, right? Because you're integrating as you go, right? So there's a risk that goes, right? So we ideally want to see things being put in production. But we do have customers that say we're highly compliant, or is we need it all, but we still create a staging prod-like environment. We still develop everything iteratively, and we go through that process. We get it fully tested, fully compliant, validated, everything in that 2-week period. So there's no must-fix defects, and it's working. And then it gets put into the prod-like environment, right? But we separate release. We release on demand, separate release from those sprints, right? So it will sit in that prod-like environment, and if the customer doesn't want to release it, okay, we go into the next sprint with the same thing. We fully test everything, integrate, validate, and then put that on top of it, regression testing, and now this release candidate, potentially it's in a releasable state, could be released into production, but the business doesn't want it yet. Okay, but we know it works. It integrates together, regression testing, it's all working, and then we can go do the next piece. And a lot of times we get that in that situation to where we're building on top of that, but it's fully working prod-like environment. The customer's going to get in there. We even tell them at this point, you can either do training on it. They can use that. They can do training. They can snap off screenshots. They can do all that. And then at some point we do release. So the business always gets to decide. The customer, business, product owner, through the voice of the customer, tells us when they want it released. That's not up to us. We just guarantee working tested product every 2 weeks, and we'll shelve it into a prod-like environment, make sure it's fully regressed and working. And when they want it released, or release it. That is better than the opposite. What some are doing is they're building, doing testing, but not full testing or whatever. They're not doing regression. And then they get to the end, they're getting ready to go to release. Then they do all the formal testing, show it to the customer. I don't like it, a bunch of defects, got issues, and now we're 3 months delayed fixing defects, all hands on, trying to get that released. Bad situation to be in. So even though, so you get that, so even though if the customer says, no, I can't use part of it, I want all of it. Well, we're still gonna build it in pieces and make sure it's working along the way, and you're gonna see every piece that it is working. Yep. 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 That code we know is regressed and always working. Yeah. In Scrum terms, it's we create a potential shippable sprint increment. That does not mean it's in production, but it is in a prod-like environment that is performing like production. So we do that. And then the release, they can determine turn this server off, turn this server on. There's many ways they can get that into production, but the point is that we're not, the thing with waterfall is that risk is increasing the longer you go, and if you're waiting to do acceptance testing and all that at the end, it's just a bad situation in software. It's better to do it all along the way. Make sure you're, because the thing, and also we have project teams. Project teams, yes, we have those, developing those long term, and when they finish, they they take the project teams, they put them on something else while they're doing acceptance testing. They find a defect, who's going to fix it? They're gone. And now we have to do traceability all the way back to the actual code and when that happened. It's a nightmare. So in any case, even if they don't want to release it, still do it. Build it iteratively and make sure it's working all the time, in a releasable state, working, tested all the time.
Did we have any online questions? Let's go there, and then we'll go back to the room.
Samuel, he says, it would seem like project management core skills are much more transferable than project management, where knowledge, expertise with particular business, industry domains is needed. Do you agree? If so, how do we bridge that gap when one wants to transition from project manager to product manager?
You read the first part again.
It would seem like project management core skills are much more transferable than product management, where knowledge and expertise with particular business or industry domains is needed. He's asking, do you agree? And if so, how do you bridge that gap when one wants to transition from project manager to product manager?
Someone's been deeply thinking about this topic, don't you think?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll answer this exactly. I'm gonna try. Two scenarios. I mean, I have seen product people skilled in product do very well without project management skills. I've seen that, right? So I don't know if I agree with the transferability, but I will say this. I highly value project management skills because a lot of times when you think about, I'll say this, you know, a lot of times the agility or in Scrum, that may be the execution point. But in my case, we're doing strategy at the portfolio level, right? Is the product viable and all of that? Agility's hard sometimes up in there. So it really helps to have that project management skill set, right? To understand how you're going to ramp up the teams, determine the product is viable or not. So there's a lot of project management in there. So I think, I don't know, but those skills, I agree, those skills are definitely transferable, project management. But I think the product management is an add-on. I hope I'm answering that. I would say the most I don't know this, I'll just say it like that. The most marketable person I would say right now in the industry, looking at what's going on and looking at those stats, project manager that has product management skill sets and knows agility, right? And has those skill sets. And especially those power skill sets that we used to call soft skill sets. Casey mentioned that, he's one of them, right? As soon as I met Casey, I knew, just talking with him, he has the right stuff to be really good at what he does in agility or project management, right? Some people don't have that, right? So sometimes I go back to the practices are easy, but those power skills, you want to get the power
The
skills.
difference maker right there. Did you have a question? Go ahead.
So it's a follow-up on what you asked the other time. This is about agile. What if the customer doesn't know what they want?
Yep.
So you have iterations where they're supposed to sign up and they don't, or you need to continue moving. So at what point will either the product manager or lead project lead say, we have to stop, we have to continue. For instance, if it is a banking software implementation where you have to test a part and then go live, just like you said, go to prod and then move on. But they refuse to sign up. They just want the best. Oh, please, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? You give them what they ask for and they're asking for more. How would a project manager or a product manager, whoever, how would you put a stake on the line and say, let's stop. This is the best thing that you need, and then let's move.
Yeah, I heard the short version. What do you do when the customer doesn't know what they want? And I've run into that because there are a lot of customers that do not know that, in my experience, humbly.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I guess on some level, I expect customers don't know what they want, right? A lot of them don't know until they see it. I approach it with, what problem are you having? What problem are we trying to solve? And if you know user stories, they're in the voice of that customer. Like, so they're not like detailed requirements, a software shall. I don't want a customer telling me where they want the checkbox or what they, I don't want that. I want them to tell me what problem you're trying to solve, and we can solve it through this platform, right? And so give me that user story for in business in user language, not technical jargon. User language of what your problem is, who is it for, and why is it important to you? Give that to the development team to be innovative because the development team shouldn't say team, sorry. Developers in the team determine how they're going to approach solving that, and then how long it's going to take to solve that. And then they go and solve it. But through design mock-ups, or whatever artifacts that go into that, the developers develop that, and then again at the end of the 2 weeks we show it to them, and they may say, so we're showing, that's the important of that working tested product in a prod-like environment, usable state. So you can actually show it to them and they can get their hands on it and really say, did we solve your problem? I hope I'm answering that. Did we solve your problem from what? So many times it's, no, I don't know until I see it. And so a lot of times we get in discussions, did we build, as a team, we have these discussions in a retrospective, did we build what they asked for according to information we had at the time? Yes. Okay. Then the customer just didn't articulate it right, and we didn't, that's fine, right? So like I say, customers will look at it and go, yep, it's great. This is exactly what I needed. It solves my problem. Or not quite, but I need these enhancements. Okay, we'll take the enhancements and reprioritize those. Or it's just like, nope, it's not what we want. Okay, and we'll retrospect on how did we miss that interpretation of what the customer wants. How do we do that, right? So, and I think that's the benefit of the 2 weeks. And sign off, I'm not sure where that happens, but we do ask for that. Like after we produce it and show it to them, we want them to go, yep, that's it. But did I answer that?
Yeah.
Hopefully. But there's kind of assumption that, yeah, we don't want them to tell us too much details. We just want to know really what their problem is, and we'll go and solve that problem with the platform. A lot of that has to do with the product owner too. If you know the product owner role, we're very challenged with that role. It's such an important role, so we do a lot of work on actually what the product owner does. But the product owner, being the voice of the customer, has to have a skill set, has to have competencies. They have to understand technology to an extent. They have to understand the product, understand the customer, understand the business, and be able to, in those conversations with the customer, understand that if the customer is asking for something, they have to have in the back of their head, is this platform capable of it? So I can write a good user story and give it to the dev team so they can actually develop it. And if they don't, if we have to keep going back and forth, it's waste. So good product owner would be able to negotiate through that, right? And then at the end of the day, if you have to do a design mock-up for them, We'll do the design in a sprint first, show them the design. Is this what you want? Yep. Okay, then we'll go build it.
Mike, we need your help with something else. I have to ask you a question. We have a raffle at the end of the event, and it's time for that. Would you help us out by selecting a couple of winners?
Yep.
I think that's the way it goes. Kelly's going to help. While Kelly's bringing up the raffle tickets up here, there's one question. I've been to your website. I'm doing research. Which one? The one that has the picture of the 4 shelves of 60 bottles of alcohol. And I want to know, are you channeling John Taffer? Do you own a bar? Or are you in competition with Total Wine?
I'm not in competition with Total Wine, but I am definitely a customer of Total Wine. I drop a lot of money at Total Wine. A lot of money.
You're a favorite. You're
Yeah.
Total Wine.
But that bar.
Here comes Mr. Fisher. Get the cart.
Yep. That bar is in my basement, and it's actually called Mike's Underground. It's not a public bar, but it is a bar. We entertain a lot. It does have a 4-keg system. It has collectible bourbons and tequilas. And yes, if you go to my website, it's on Instagram. You'll see the bar. Has multiple TV screens, pool table.
Yeah.
Dolby Atmos surround sound, 85-inch TV.
I think I just drove some web traffic to you. People are going to check that out. All righty.
I don't drink that much, by the way. I don't.
No, the bottles look
It'd
full.
be dangerous if I did.
Yes, it would.
But they're collectibles. I like it. I like to have people over. And
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing.
All right, we're going to do one on site. So in the room here.
And the winners are vouchers for future events, is what the winner gets.
Yes. 233-0057.
Yay! All right. Congratulations.
All right, and then we're going to give one online.
Online.
Are we playing the must remain online game?
My time, right? Yeah. All right. Online. 4344717.
Very dramatic. That's a very good rating. Let's see if they're.
Go again.
All right. Okay.
4344712.
We have a winner?
Yay! I'm thrilled because sometimes we have to do that 5 times before that. Mike, if you can hang around to mingle with us,
sure.
Really appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, let's one more time thank Mike Fisher for being here.
Thank you.
And now also, Ruchika, if you can, you're going to explain a little bit to us that how we have the room set up to do some networking after this question.
I'm ready to give them right now, however you want to get into them.
We will put them all.
Okay. This is that. Ruchika, you're going to explain what the networking arrangement in the room. And for you, you can just wander around to anywhere you want. If you can hang around for people to approach you, they love it. Thank you so much.
Are we still online?
Pleasure. No, we're cutting it. Yeah. I should have said goodnight to the online people.
So everyone, this is something that you see on your table. Sorry. Except this table, everybody will see. They are mailing already, so this is a conversation starter. If you like, you can pick a topic from this, or if you like, you can talk whatever you want. We see a couple of tables